Hello, everyone. Today's video is one that a lot of students struggle to learn in the classroom and outside the classroom. To be perfectly honest with you, I think it's a very important one. It is what we're going to be looking at today is reporting psychological investigations. Now, what I've got on the screen at the moment is the last bullet point of the main part of research methods, and I think it goes underneath the radar quite a bit. So we're looking at scientific processes. We are looking at how to report psychological investigations. You need to know these sections of a scientific report, also known as a journal article. You need to know the abstract, the introduction, method, results, discussion, and referencing as well. Now, I can't remember what year it is. It was either 2017 or 2018. But in paper 3, there were 316 markers, one in relationships, one in issues and debates, and one in addiction. And the students came out furious, absolutely fuming. Not about the 316 markers. They came out absolutely apoplectic about a 2-marker referencing question in which they were asked to write a reference. Now, I will be going through that in this presentation, but the students were so angry and they were like, they can't ask us to do that. It's not on the spec. And we were saying, yes, it is. It's literally this last bullet point right here. And I don't want you to take your eyes off this because, to be honest, this question is a little bit like an earthquake. It hasn't really hit yet, but they're going to ask some serious questions on this at some point in the future. So let's make a start. Now, I don't have slides for this. I think the best way to actually demonstrate this is to go through it in a bit of detail. Now, at college, one second. At college, you deal with textbooks quite a lot. You get all your information from textbooks. But at uni, that doesn't happen because textbooks get outdated very, very quickly. So at university, you will use the primary sources of research. You will look at the journal articles where the research is published. Now, as an example of this, I've got Google Scholar up. Now, everything I'm about to go through today is absolutely vital if you want to be even remotely successful at uni. At university, you will not be dealing with textbooks, not really. Maybe for definitions and things like that, but not really. So what I've got here is Google Scholar. Google Scholar is known as a database. Basically, I could type any behavior in. So if I type in, let's say, schizophrenia, what the hell are those? Right, well, let's look at this then. This is about winemaking. Okay, not really what I was after, to be honest with you. But let's go for schizoaffective disorder, right? On the sides, you've got direct links to these. So I'm going to go for this article just here. And I was going to view the PDF. And basically, what I'm about to show you is an actual journal article, like what the researchers actually wrote up. I've got a couple here. So I've got this one here. Does schizoaffective disorder really exist? A systematic review into studies that compared schizoaffective disorder with schizophrenia and other mood disorders. And basically, what I'm going to show you is that each of these is layered and structured in the same way. And you need to know various parts about introduction, lit review, method, results, discussion, referencing, so on and so forth. So if you have a look here, you've got abstract, you've got the introduction. If I scroll down, you've got the results. This one doesn't have a method. Oh, very, very naughty. There it is. There's a method. Sneaky. You've got the method, quite short, the results. And then finally, you're going to have the discussion somewhere. There you go. Discussion. And then it will lead to, at the end, referencing, which it does here. Now I've got one up already, and I might just show you this. This is one I found earlier. Sex differences in human jealousy, a coordinated study of forced choice, continuous rating scale, and physiological responses on the same subjects. Now it's quite a boring subject. It's just looking at whether male or females are more jealous. But there's a couple of things I want you to make a note of, please. Now, firstly, you will always see if I just zoom in just here, this right here at the top is the journal that it was published in. So this is the journal that this particular article was published in. That is the 23rd volume, the 23rd kind of time they've printed a volume. You've got the year there, and then you've also got the page numbers as well. Now, all of this is going to be crucial later on, so I want you to make a note of this. You've got the journal article there, the volume number, the year, and the page numbers. You will need that later on when I get you to reference this. You've got the title just here, obviously, and then you've got the researchers here as well. So this was done by Robert Piet. I've brought myself into this. Pierzak, James Laird, David Stevens, and Nicholas Thompson. Fine. Now, the first thing you need to know here, make a note of this, is that you need to know what the abstract is. Now, the abstract is a summary of everything the paper is about at the beginning of the journal. Why is the summary at the beginning? So I want to imagine that I'm looking at, let's just say, let's think of something completely random. Depression in elderly people. Okay, sex differences in old people depression. So if I were to say I'm doing that piece of research, right? And so I want to do my own research here. So if I type here and I look at sex differences and rage. There is a reason for that, by the way, because I was talking to a student quite recently. Sex differences in geriatric depression. There we go. Okay. Well, there we go. This one looks pretty promising at the top. Sex differences in prevalence and risk factors of geriatric depression. If I click on this, it will take me through to the article. Hopefully, it's taking me straight through, which is lovely. So what you're going to find here, always, the abstract is always at the front. Now, instead of reading this entire piece of research and all through the stats, all through the blah 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 blah, all the discussion, and I get to the end and I think that wasn't useful, right? Write this down. The main point of the abstract is to prevent researchers having to read the whole article only to find that it's not useful. So what I can do now, if I'm looking at sex differences in old people, I can just look at this and think, okay, are they? So they're looking at geriatric depression with women. They're looking at risk factors, living alone, past history of stroke, whether you're separated. All of this looks useful. Boom, I'll print. So that is the main reason for the abstract, is to allow researchers to see if a piece of research would be particularly useful. Now, as you can see here, you've got all of the main aspects of it. What did you conclude? What were the results? What was the methods? So the abstract is written at the start. Fine. Now, the next main part is introduction. So again, note this down, please. But the introduction is to basically set the scene of what has been found within this particular field within the last 5 to 10 years. Is to set the scene with all the pieces of research that have been found. So what you're going to do is so in this case, sex differences in human jealousy, you are going to look at all the pieces of research and keep in mind that this came out in 2002. So all of the pieces of research should be relatively recent. And if we have a look at the first one, Bus was only 3 years before, right? Bunk, in this case, was 6 years before that. I mean, Simmons is quite an old piece of research, but all of them are within, 5 to 10 years, really. 1996, 1994, 1999. But if you have a look here, all of look how many names there are here. You've got Obad and Bus, Simmons, you've got Bars, Larson, Weston, and Simmeroff. You've got Bunk, you've got Wiedemann and that one. You've got Destano and Salave. You got Harris and Christianfield. You got Bunk again. You got so the introduction is also known as a literature review. It's a review of all of the pieces of research within that field and what they have found in the last 5 to 10, 15 years. That is why you cannot use textbooks at university. You have to use actual pieces of research that you have to go out and find yourself. Your university lecturers will not tell you where to find these, right? No, not these. They're useful. They will not they will not tell you where to find all of these. Fine, right? So it's filled. It is absolutely filled with pieces of research and a reminder that you have to find, read, and annotate all of these pieces yourself for any essay that you do at university. So it's a lot of hard work. Now, if I take BUS 1994, we actually look at BUS when we do relationships. Now, I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom here. I should be able to find this piece of research. A critical thing about introduction, that again is worth noting down. I don't know why I keep having to say this in this video, but every named piece of research in your literature review should appear in your references. So say I look at this. According to BUS, sex differences in the eliciting factors of human jealousy are probably a human universal. He's basically saying that, jealousy is a human factor. If I scroll BUS 1994, I can scroll all the way down to the bottom and we're going to look at BUS 1994. There you go. Boom. Easily found. So it's a book in this case, The Evolution of Desire, Strategies of Human Mating. And this was published in New York by Basic Books. Every piece of research in your literature review has to be referenced. And your lecturers at uni don't have a life and they will look at this. They will match every single one. I've tried to get away with it before at uni, but I would always be caught. Now, as you can see, the introduction is a hefty, meaty part of what you are writing about. So both the literature review / introduction is the same thing. Lit review is the same as an introduction. Has many pieces of research, and it's a very, very detailed piece of research. It's a very detailed set of work. Now, that is the point of literature introduction, is just to set the scene. Now, what you want to do is set the scene of what you are going to do. So in your method, you're basically going to outline how, step by step, you've done your piece of research. Who were your participants? What measures did you give them, for example, and go into a bit of detail and justification as to why? How are you physiologically measuring them? And look, there's a lot here. Now, the exact procedure, the method is important. And again, this is important. The method is important because if you want people to be able to replicate your research, you need to give them a step-by-step outline of how exactly to do your piece of research and how you did your piece of research, so that other people in the future could go off and do the piece of research and see if they found the same thing as well. So very, very important, the method, very important. As you can see, a justification as to why you would pick particular statistical tests, for example. So I always found the method really, really technical at uni. And then obviously at some point you got to say what you found. Now, without going into it in too much detail, you're either going to do quantitative data, qualitative data, or a mixture of both. So in this case, they used mainly quantitative data. You got 73%, 96%. You got a lot of statistics just there. I'm guessing as we go down, there you go. There's a lot of quite complex stats. Now, you're not expected to know this at this point. Or being able to read all these stats. But if you go to uni, you would have to wrap your head around this. And it is easy once you wrap your head around it, as anything is actually. But as you can see with results, it's a really technical part. There's a lot of numbers if you do quantitative data. I will just briefly show you what qualitative data looks like. So if I show you, this is my master's dissertation that I did many, many years ago. I did a qualitative data. And as you can see, you've got a literature review, which is full of words and very full of words, as you can see. It's pretty hefty. Sorry. This is how long your lit reviews have to be, by the way, right? Your literature reviews are very, very detailed. This is a dissertation, so it's a bit different. You got your method there as well, fine. But by the way, I did qualitative data. So when it came through to the results, this was my qualitative data analysis. Look, there's hardly any, there's no statistics there at all. There's no statistics on this page whatsoever. So you need to decide for yourself, are you a numbers person or are you a description wordy person? I prefer qualitative nowadays personally, but look, again, you're looking at 34 pages of just pure writing, but no statistics. So what I'm trying to say here is you can either go down the qualitative route or the quantitative route or both. This person has clearly gone down the quantitative route. But eventually you get to the discussion, and this is by far the most important bit. I'm just going to scroll just to show you how long the discussion usually is. So there's a bit more there, a bit more. You keep going. Discussion. You got a lot of stuff here. So the discussion's pretty long, pretty hefty, I would say. But the 4 points of discussion, and again, you need to write these down, please. But you do there are 4 elements to doing a discussion after your results. The first one is to identify any weaknesses in your piece of research. That's not to say you absolutely rip it apart, but you want to be honest and forthright and say, maybe next time I would have done this a little bit different. The second pillar of discussion is you analysing and concluding why you found what you found. Why did you find these? Why did you find this finding? Why? How can you explain it? What's your explanation for this? Linked to this, and this is the third pillar of discussions, is do the results that you found match those that you talked about in your literature review at the top of the paper? Do the results that you found match those that you found at the top of the paper? If so, why? If not, why? So that's the third pillar. And the fourth one, arguably the least important, but still important, I should say, is after all of this, you then have to identify, and this is the fourth pillar of discussions, you then have to identify future directions of research. Given that you found what you found and you've talked about it compared to the literature review, you then have to go, right, from here, this is where we go. This is what we need to research next. So your discussion is usually pretty hefty. And then we get to references. Okay, so I'm going to quickly go through now how to reference a book and how to reference a journal article. They've only asked at the time of recording how to reference a book, but they haven't, as of yet, I'm amazed they haven't gone through how to reference a journal article. So luckily, the 2 bus ones just here are, the first one is a book, the second one is a journal article. I can tell that because of the way they are structured and what they have actually referenced. So it's absolutely critical that you write this down somewhere and you memorize it until you know it. But let's have a look. I'm just going to zoom in. Oh, geez. We're looking at this bus 1994. Bus 1994. So first things first is you need to write the surname, followed by the initial of the first names. Right. Again, write that down. Surname, and then first initial. Year in brackets, and then the title of the book. The title of the book. It's in italics here. You don't always have to do an italics, although if you're at uni, yes, you do. But if you're writing it as an answer to an exam, obviously you don't have to turn the page 45 degrees to write in italics. So the title is after the year in italics, the evolution of desire, strategies of human mating. You've then got the publisher location. So this was obviously published in New York, and the publisher itself. So Basic Books is a publishing company, the people that make books, basically. They get their name on this. And so from this, I would be able to look for David Buss. I know that's David Buss off the top of my head. I'd look for Buss D. No, not that. 1994, Buss D. Anyway, sorry. And then I would maybe type this in, the evolution of desire. So, for example, just as a, I'll tell you what, let's have a little stab here. The evolution of, say I wanted to, there we go. And I found it. So I could now go and find that book and buy it myself and read what David Buss had to say himself. And that, by the way, is how you reference a book. Now we're moving down to this one just here. Now this is Buss in a different format here. We're looking at a journal article now. So you have to name in the journal article all of the people that contributed to that journal article. So we've got Buss D, Larson R, Weston D, and Semmelroth J. Right, so same thing. The surname and then the first initial. You've then got the year in brackets again, year in brackets again, as it was for the book. But then you've got the article title. So in this case, sex differences in jealousy, evolution, physiology, and psychology, right? After the journal title is the title of the journal itself. Where can you find this? So this was published in Psychological Science, Volume 3, pages 251 to 255. So it's surname, first initial, year in brackets, the article title, the journal title, the volume number, followed by page number. And again, if I type in Psychological Science, journal, volume 3, that is going to take me straight through to this. It was published in 1992, and I could then get access to, yes, I accept all my cookies. I could get access to it. That is the point of referencing, by the way. So 2 things. You need to know how to reference both a journal and a book. And I've just given you how to do that. Second thing is, that's why you reference, is you use it to see where you can find the original source. If I now wanted to go find about Buss, where is it? Buss, Larson, Weston, and Semmelroths. I've tracked it down to this just here, and I'm guessing if we go through, we're probably going to find this. I should have thought about this. I'm not going to waste your time. I'm just going to see. Okay, right. I haven't found it off the top of my head, but this is where it would be, right? So, in terms of looking at this, you need to know sections of a scientific report. Abstract, you need to know why. You need to know a few points about the introduction, and hopefully you know that. All right, it sets the scene of the last 5 to 10, 15 years. Is packed full of pieces of research, for example. Method is there to make it replicable. The results are usually in their raw form. I didn't say that actually, but the results are usually in their raw form. So like you're kind of saying, these are the stats that we found. You're not kind of dressing them up in some way. You need to know the 4 pillars of discussion, as well as how to reference a book and a journal at this stage as well. That is it for this last one. As always, I hope this is useful. Please don't take your eye off the ball with this one. It is a difficult one, and we don't really know how they're going to ask questions, but that is how you report psychological investigations.